The mission of Expedition 72, which is continued science, research, and discovery aboard the International Space Station. Now getting views from the two spacecraft. Again, there is a hatch, multiple hatches actually. We are seeing that the APAS hatch is open on the International Space Station side. The vestibule in between the two spacecraft have been pressurized to meet that of sea level on the ground. The position where Hague and Gorbanov currently are very close to the Dragon hatch. Now with the APAS hatch opened, some of the flashes you were seeing from inside the pressurized mating adapter were cameras, and the flashes of the cameras to inspect the hatch, make sure there's no foreign object debris, just a safety measure and precaution to make sure that nothing is in the way. That will be documented and relayed to the ground for inspection, make sure everything's good. Some of the many steps of these hatch opening procedures that we've been referencing. This is Mission Control Houston following along. Again, the APAS hatch is open. This is the last hatch on the International Space Station side. There's one more hatch to go, and that's on the Dragon side. Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov currently waiting patiently inside Dragon Freedom, going through their incremental steps to make sure the hatches can be opened at a safe time. You saw the NASA astronauts in the pressurized mating adapter bring in white cloth. This is part of the procedures of outfitting the hatch for ingress. The hatch itself is metallic and has been exposed to vacuum. As a safety measure, the hatch itself is being covered with this white cloth. There's also a docking fixture that's used. It's sort of a pole that sticks out from the back end of the APAS hatch. That has been removed as it is an obstacle to crews ingressing through that hatch. Working through the steps incrementally. The crew seems to be on the timeline right now, so we're expecting the hatch opening to happen within the next 30 minutes or so of Dragon. Right now we're looking at a gap in our video coverage from the station. Hoping to beat that gap so we can see some of the crew members enter. But we will be providing continuous coverage through that hatch opening and when the crew are formally welcomed on board the International Space Station. There will be a formal ceremony. In this shot that you're seeing right now, you can actually see the bell, ceremonial bell, which will be rung upon the ingress of the 2 crew members on board Dragon Freedom, welcoming them and joining Expedition 72, rounding out 11 members of 72. Three-box view that you're seeing from inside the station on the bottom right, inside Dragon, bottom left. Again, NASA astronaut Nick Hague on the top right corner of the screen. From that Dragon cabin view, Gorbanov you see behind some of the seats on the view from the bottom left. And we are seeing Dragon illuminated by the sun a little bit until an orbital sunset. As expected just minutes from now, the views on the outside of station will become a little darker as the station and Dragon pass 260 statute miles over the northern Atlantic Ocean. More Expedition 72 crew members starting to come into view. In the red shirt there on the left, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin, former crewmate of Nick Hague. On his Soyuz flight to the International Space Station, they rode together aboard a Soyuz to the International Space Station and joined for their expedition before returning, now reunited in space.
Station on the big loop. Step 4.8 is complete. Step 4.9 station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
We copy, Mike. We are not quite ready on our side. We'll let you know when we are.
Holding at 4.9.
Mike Barrett relaying that the crew is ready for hatch equalization, doing a few things on the ground.
SpaceX Freedom on the big loop. Crew's holding in 4.9. We're ready for the hatch to come open.
All right, SpaceX copies. We'll be waiting for the ground to be ready for equalization, and that's going to keep us in section 6 of 4.400. You'll see us take commands and the state change in step 6.2 when we're ready to go.
And copy that. And just a question on estimate on how long that'll take. We're coming up on our hour of drying time. No, check that. We got 15 minutes. We'll just wait.
Copy. Yeah, we're still a few minutes away from stepping into equalization, and we're tracking about just over 14 minutes left in dry time. We'll see if those deconflict, but we won't let the suit drying stop us from proceeding if we're already ready to step into that.
Okay, copy all. And Houston on the big loop, the APAS hatch seals look great, and no condensation noted. We did take a picture of the docking cross. That also looks great.
Houston copies.
Crew aboard station and Freedom eager to open up that hatch. Just need to make sure everything's set on the ground. Teams are carefully analyzing all the data to make sure they are ready for that hatch equalization. In the meantime, you saw the crew did an inspection of the APAS hatch, the one that's open there in the background, just on the far end of the pressurized mating adapter. That has again been outfitted for safety precautions with claws. The docking cross has been removed, an obstacle from egress. In addition to noting and inspecting the APAS hatch, taking photographs for the ground to analyze, the crew did report that the APAS hatch looks great. Good news. And allows for the teams to continue towards an on-time opening of the hatch and welcoming of the crew aboard the International Space Station. Again, Hague in the background of the Dragon cabin shot. Gorbanov there in the foreground. Aboard in Node 2, International Space Station on the right, NASA astronaut Don Pettit, part of the Soyuz crew that recently arrived aboard the International Space Station, commanded by Alexei Ovchinin. Ovchinin there, of course, former crewmate of Hague. They launched together aboard their Soyuz mission to the International Space Station and will be reunited at the welcoming ceremony. Hague and Ovchinin did, of course, have an abort after the launch of their Soyuz MS-10 mission. But both of them did get to go up and join the crews of Expedition 59 and 60, launching successfully aboard Soyuz MS-12 and completing their expedition aboard the International Space Station and safely returning to Earth. Again, the two reunited in space. 3 Roscosmos cosmonauts in view. On this view on the right, who recently came through the pressurized mating adapter, was Ivan Wagner, Alexei Ovchinin, now making his way through pressurized mating adapter. Alexander Gurbankin currently taking the frame in the black shirt. All Expedition 72 crew members will be present when Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov ingress the International Space Station. It's part of a formal welcoming ceremony. We'll continue our coverage until the crew and the ground teams have an opportunity to provide remarks during that ceremony. Right now, again, the Node 2 hatch in the foreground of this view, as well as the APAS hatch, both on the International Space Station side that's in the background, much further into the pressurized mating adapter. Both of them are open. As the teams in space now, both on the International Space Station side as well as the Dragon side, both ready for opening up the final hatch. So again, the astronauts in space are ready to go, just waiting for those ground teams and finding ways to pass the time.
Station and Dragon Houston on the big loop. Stand by for equalization. We're expecting it to take 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, copy that. Jim copies.
This is Mission Control Houston. For those tuning in, we're continuing to wait for one last step of allowing the hatch pressure to equalize before opening up the final hatch. We've been working through hatch opening sequences over the past hour or so, about an hour and a half since docking at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. The ground teams have instructed the astronauts on board to wait until equalization is achieved before proceeding to open up with the hatch. Hoping to hear that call momentarily. This is a view from inside Dragon Freedom. NASA astronaut Commander Nick Hague in the background there on the comms. Mission specialist Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov there in the foreground. This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting views from both inside the Dragon Freedom cabin as well as from inside the International Space Station Node 2. Astronauts on board both vehicles waiting patiently. We're waiting for a go from ground teams analyzing the pressure inside each of the respective spacecraft and waiting for a go to open up that last hatch, Dragon hatch.
Freedom, SpaceX for suit dry.
Freedom's with you.
All right, we're happy with the suit dry timer now, so you are go for commanding the suit fan off before we step into hatch opening.
Okay, copy that. We'll turn off the suit fan.
See NASA astronaut Nick Hague working on the displays, the console there inside Dragon Freedom. The command to disable those suit fans is on that console. Suit fan and suit drying procedures are done after doffing suits through various phases of spaceflight. For these two astronauts, after doffing the suits after orbital insertion, suit drying was part of the procedures there as well, before they were once again donned prior to the approach initiation burn. Those suits were doffed again after the docking sequence was complete. That includes a soft capture.
Freedom, SpaceX on the big loop. We see the suit fans are off. So at this time, you are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in 4.400, Section 6.
And copies, we're going to open the hatch per decal and then remaining steps in section 6, 4.400.
Good, readback, and we'll just follow up after hatch open on the completion of 4.012 as well, but we can go ahead and step into the hatch hops.
Okay, copy that.
With that from the SpaceX mission control teams in Hawthorne, California, relaying that the suit fan command has been successfully initiated and they are go to open up the hatch. We got a great view from inside the space station here, and we're starting to see it illuminate. And now, with that, we confirm Dragon hatch is open. 6:04 p.m. Central.
SpaceX Freedom hatch is open.
Copy, hatch open.
Freedom arriving.
The bell has been rung. Alexander Gorbanov, the first through of Crew-9, being welcomed by Expedition 72. Next up is Crew-9 Commander Nick Hague. Crew-9 now aboard the International Space Station and joining Expedition 72. Again, Crew-9 on board the International Space Station. That ingress coming shortly after the hatches were opened at 6:04 p.m. Central Time, being welcomed by the crew of Expedition 72. We're going to continue our coverage here. We have a planned formal welcoming ceremony. However, we are coming up on an expected gap in our video communications from the International Space Station. So just as the crew was patient with the hatch opening operations, we will be patient with the crew, setting up for the welcome ceremony when we recover that video just around shortly after 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Again, Haig and Gorbanov on board the International Space Station. Gorbanov in frame right now, but they're going to take some time and speak with some of their crewmates. But we will be continuing our coverage through the formal welcoming ceremony. There is an expected gap in our video communication from the International Space Station. So we'll continue our coverage until that video is regained. Begin our coverage of the welcome ceremony shortly after we regain that coverage, expected just around 6:30 p.m. It'll take some time for the crew to get set up and in position. We'll do a couple of technical checks and be right on our way. But in the meantime, stay tuned for the formal welcoming ceremony of Crew-9 to join Expedition 72. Now in a short handover of our video and audio from the International Space Station as expected. This was tracked before we initiated a go to proceed with the formal welcome ceremony. Wanted to make sure we got good views from inside. This handover is expected to last a couple of minutes before we regain views from on board, and we'll go through a couple of steps setting up for good scenes before proceeding with the welcome ceremony itself. Teams in Mission Control Houston have been led by Flight Director Marcos Flores, coming on console prior to the joint operations, just prior to the approach initiation burn, and following along all the way through docking, which happened right on time today, 4:30 p.m. Central Time. The crew then proceeded to close out the Dragon cabin, doff their suits, and get ready to enter the International Space Station.
In 2.102, step 6.1, IMV duct installations complete. Your go for IMV fan activation.
Houston copies, Nick, thanks.
Getting views from on board the station now. Before the formal welcome ceremony, just getting a head start on some of the procedures. Around the welcome ceremony, stowage of some bags closing out the Dragon cabin. The communications from on board might be a little spotty, which is why we're holding on executing the welcome ceremony for now. We'll again continue our coverage until that's done, but we may lose some views here and there until we get solid communications expected just in about 10 minutes.
I'm assuming it's
The two Dragon commanders now inside Freedom. Commander Nick Hague inside the Dragon that he just took to the International Space Station with mission specialist Alexander Gorbanov as part of Crew-9, Matt Dominic, the commander of Crew-8. Today begins a 1-week-long handover period to set Crew-9 up for success as they join Expedition 72 and continue a long-duration stay aboard station of science and discovery. NASA astronaut Matt Dominic, commander of Crew-8, will wrap up his stay aboard the International Space Station and as part of Expedition 72. And he, along with his Crew-8 cadre, including Mike Barrett, Jeanette Epps, and Alexander Gurbankin, will take their SpaceX Dragon back to Earth, splashing down off the coast of Florida. That Dragon is Dragon Endeavour, currently docked to the zenith side, or the space-facing side of the International Space Station. As expected, communications are a bit spotty. We're losing video incrementally from the International Space Station. Should be a little bit more steady about 10 minutes from now, maybe less than 10 minutes. Again, this is a live view from the International Space Station flight control room. Teams here have been overseeing Dragon's approach and docking.
SpaceX Freedom, I was just looking for a go to get into location 23 and cover up my LIO before the timer expires.
Checking, Nick.
Teams in this room, again, as part of Orbit 3, the shifts in this room are 24/7. So 3 shifts per day, every day of the year, making sure that astronauts aboard the International Space Station, who have been there continuously for coming up on 24 years, making sure that they have everything they need and they're well looked after. And it's from this room that it happens. Marcos Flores is the flight director overseeing the operations today from approach and docking.
Houston on 2 for Nick. We are go for step 6.3.
Copy, go for 6.3. Thank you.
Commander Nick Hague of Crew-9, NASA astronaut, proceeding with some of the closeout duties of the Dragon cabin ahead of our welcome ceremony. Again, Marcos Flores is the flight director today on the bottom of the screen. Tess Caswell is the voice from here in Mission Control up to the crew. She's the one communicating from Houston up to the crew.
And SpaceX Freedom, step 6.5, the LIO cartridge is sealed and installed. That's cartridge 1's back in the active, sealed.
All right, next SpaceX copies. LIO 1 is back in the active slot, but is sealed.
Good readback.
We're hearing conversations about the LiO cartridges. These are lithium hydroxide cartridges that provide scrubbing of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere.
Station Houston, on to any available crew for PAO scene setup. Jeanette, we are looking to zoom out the Node 22 HD camera a little bit so that we can be sure we'll fit everyone into that view for the event. We will take you up on that, Jeanette. Please move it back a little bit so we can get a wider field of view, make sure we can get everyone into the frame. Thank you. Thanks, Sunny. We copy.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How am I coming through? Probably still need me to talk longer so you can see if we got sync. Oh, I knew. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello to all my friends in the PAO office.
Houston, are you ready?
This is Mission Control Houston. Crew is standing by to begin the welcome ceremony, just configuring a few technical things on the ground to enable all crew members and on each of the control rooms to be able to hear the welcome ceremony. Just stand by a few minutes. We'll be beginning momentarily.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All I heard was Teresa Terry.
Очень хорошо.
Клуб Москвы, отвечаю в СГ-2. Проверяем связь. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Как вы слышите меня?
Отлично.
Station Houston, are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
Station Houston, we are ready as well. Over to you to welcome the new members of the crew.
On behalf of Expedition 72, I just want to say welcome to our new compadres from Dragon Freedom. Alex, welcome to the International Space Station. And Nick, welcome back home to the International Space Station. It's great to be here with bringing the 72 back up to 11.
Thanks, Sonny. Alex and I had a smooth ride up here, and so first off I just want to say thank you to the teams that got us ready to fly Freedom to the station, and it was a awesome ride. And coming through the hatch and seeing all the smiles, and as much as I've laughed and cried in the last 10 minutes, I know it's going to be an amazing expedition, so I'm really looking forward to getting to work up here.
So I'm very happy to be here in this huge, amazing laboratory, International Space Station. And I'm looking forward to working with this crew, Expedition 72, and with people who are supporting us on the ground, МСС Houston, МСС Moscow. Также хотел поблагодарить НАСА вместе со SpaceX и Роскосмос, которые продолжают сотрудничать по программе МКС, продвигают науку, эксперименты космические вперед. И хотел поблагодарить всех родных и близких за то, что меня поддерживали в этом путешествии, которое только начинается. Завтра первый рабочий день. Начнем работать. Спасибо.
Thank you for the words. At this time, Glavany has an additional message for Nick and Alex.
ЦУП Москвы на связи. Я надеюсь, вы меня сейчас хорошо слышите. Я приветствую всех. Здравствуйте, добрый вечер. Ника и Александра, мы приветствуем отдельно, особо поздравляем с благополучным прибытием на борт и началом космической вахты. Удачи вам. Долгим разговором сейчас утомлять не буду, потому что, понимаю, насыщенный день, вы устали. Благодарю за внимание. Удачи, удачи, еще раз удачи от всех нас. Мы на связи и готовы вам помочь всегда.
Спасибо за теплые слова. Будем работать с завтрашнего дня, да. Начнем космическую вахту, посмотрим, сколько продлится.
And with that, thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.
Crew-9 now formally joining Expedition 72. 11 crew members aboard the International Space Station and beginning their one-week-long handover. Looking forward to next week, no earlier than October 7th, as the opportunity for Crew-8 to undock. We'll be tracking weather to make sure everything is good for the crew to return, but it'll be a week of 11 crew members on board. After launching yesterday from Slick 40 for the first time, humans launching from that pad over in Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida at 1:17 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:17 p.m. Central. The crew made a 28-hour transit to the International Space Station and docked right on time, 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Over the next hour and a half, the crew incrementally pressurized the vestibule, opened up the hatches, and closed out their respective areas to be welcomed after hatch opening at 6:04 p.m. Central Time. Crew 8 Commander Nick Hague, as well as Crew 9 Commander Nick Hague, as well as Crew 9 Mission Specialist Alexander Gorbanov, entered the International Space Station and were welcomed by the Expedition 72 crew, and we just witnessed the formal welcome ceremony. After the welcome ceremony, that concludes our coverage of Crew 9's journey to the International Space Station, and they now begin a long-duration journey aboard for science and discovery. With that, that wraps up our coverage. This is Mission Control, Houston.